In Rust, F1 grenades aren't the most used weapon, and often players don't instantly think about grabbing a stack while making a kit. In other FPS games, grenades are commonplace, but in Rust you can go an entire wipe without being killed by one. However, they're so deadly, and when you land one correctly, you can easily end a fight before it's even begun, and with their current cost at bandit camp and crafting costs, I really do want to be using them more. So because I found the throws a little hit and miss before, and because of my lack of experience with them, I wanted to spend some time finding out just how far you can throw an F1 grenade and how best to throw it to achieve the furthest distance. So I hopped on a build server and built this little range. I then walked backwards down this range throwing grenades to test the distance and throw styles. And while I did put distance markers along the side, I did also use the combat log to check the actual distance of my throws. The markers are also only roughly correct, as the length of each 1x1 foundation is roughly 3 meters in total. I checked this at the start simply by shooting a target that was as close to one foundation away from me as I could possibly get it. I'll be throwing F1 grenades at the reactive target, as while it doesn't fall down and does eventually get destroyed, we do hear the hit markers that let us know we're hitting the target. I started close to the target, moving back to the max distance of each of the different throwing styles, stationary, jumping and moving. Here are the results. Just throwing was fairly basic as expected, however this is where I already noticed that keeping the target visible on the screen stopped me from aiming too high with the grenade and limiting its distance. You ultimately want to keep the target in the lower half of your screen, somewhere around where your hotbar is. The maximum distance I reached from a stationary throw was a little bit under 30 meters. Now from the 30 meter mark I began jumping and throwing. Throwing grenades when jumping is a bit about timing but still fairly intuitive. Wait until you reach the height of your jump to throw the grenade. You can tell when you haven't thrown it correctly when the grenade appears to leave your body below you. You want to pull the pin, jump, slight weight and then throw. Releasing it when you're falling back down is still better than throwing it too early into the upwards jump. The maximum distance I reached with the jump throw was just below 35 meters. Now finally was a moving jump throw. I tested a bunch of different methods and ended up throwing well over 150 grenades. And I would say there were two main ways to throw a grenade while moving. The first is to pull the pin, hold it for a little while and sprint forward. You will then see the visible arm moves during this, then jump and throw. If you don't wait long enough, the arm won't move and the throw will be extremely short. I'm not a fan of this either because throughout the test I'd find that the end throw was actually closer to 35 meters than 40. So the second method is more of a spring movement. Start by standing in the 35 to 40 meter range, pull the pin and immediately jump forward while also sprinting. You should not have a run up to this at all and it should all be one springy motion. I found that where you were moving forward and jumping, you didn't need to aim up anywhere near as much as the grenade already had forward momentum. Meaning aiming more directly at the target was helpful about halfway between the middle of the screen and your hotbar. This was by far the most consistent method at producing long throws with a maximum throw just below 40 meters. Next up, I just wanted to actually see the blast radius of these throws as it was hard to see where the grenades were landing. So I set up a bunch of red barrels closely packed at the end of the range. As you can see, they explode nicely from a single grenade. It was also fun to see how deep into the barrels I was able to throw the grenade, and it goes to show that if the first grenade only manages to hit them slightly, a second equally well placed grenade would be enough to kill anyone in a 3 meter radius. So there it is. From what I found, the maximum distance you can throw an F1 grenade is 40 meters. 30 meters stationary, 35 if you're jumping, and 40 if you add a bit of forward momentum to it. This is on a flat surface, so adapt this based on terrain, but a good rule of thumb is to keep the target visible on the screen, somewhere around the hotbar, and to throw the grenade at the very peak of the jump or just as you fall. Hopefully this gets you pumped to take a stack of F1 out on your roams. If you found this video interesting, be sure to give it a like as it helps me out so much, and as always please consider subscribing. Thanks so much for watching.